has failed. The matrix has failed. We're going to talk about the matrix. There is no more the luxury of relying on the archaic, failed system that we call healthcare. The only possible solution here, the real solution to your life, to your health, is holism. And we're going to talk about it. But before we talk about the good things, well, I'm an emergency room physician. I came in to work emergency room shifts over the holiday season. I did the New Year's, and I want to share a few things about the healthcare system and what's happening, especially now. Now, for the past 20 plus years, I've been in the system. I've been working in various hospitals, primarily as emergency room physician. I've done some work as a hospitalist. I also was basically everything, as a matter of fact. All the consults combined when I was working in Alaska for a while. That was some time ago. So you had to be every specialist because there was nobody available there. And it takes a certain type of an individual to be able to handle that kind of a situation. And sometimes bad things have happened there, and there is nothing we could do about it. Well, this is a good prelude to what's happening in our system, in our world, in our life. I want to start with the concept of the Matrix. And if you have seen the movie The Matrix, again, I would love to hear your perspective of what the Matrix is and what the movie means to you, especially if you watched the entire series. From a healthcare perspective, I like the definition. I really like the definition of the Matrix as an artificial construct. I'm going to read this: pulled over our minds to make us believe that it's real. In the meantime, being abused and utilized, so to speak, by the industry, by the pharmaceutical mafia, by the medical system, and not in charge of your health, not in charge of who you are, not in charge of your wellness, not in charge of your being. And that's how they like it. That's exactly what they want. That's what the Matrix is all about. And if you see the movie, I'll talk about the movie at some point, and I'm happy to answer the question on how I see the movie and my perception of it, because this is very important. A lot of every sentence almost in there has a meaning if you pay careful attention, and the rabbit hole goes really, really deep. If anybody cares to go down there. But the real issue is control. So let me talk about the situation right now for the next few minutes as to what is happening in the hospitals, in the emergency rooms, in the inpatient, basically what's happening in the Matrix. I mentioned just a little while ago that I worked the weekend and I saw many things, including patterns. Interestingly enough, let me just talk about what the place that I work. It's a critical access facility. It's in Iron County, Missouri. Wonderful place. And the interesting thing about the concept of how the system is supposed to work, we're talking about the systems, is you've got your small community hospitals that basically can triage people, whoever comes in. It's either something that you can go home with, something that we'll need to keep in our hospital facility, which is generally uncomplicated or simple to manage. And then if somebody is critical or sick or needs further attention or specialist care, like significant pulmonary, brain, cardiac complications that need literally a lot of more resources to manage them, to do and to take proper care, then the process is to send them by ambulance or by helicopter or however is appropriate to the next higher level of care, which is a tertiary center, like, for example, if you live in Missouri, like Barnes Jewish or Missouri Baptist or any number of hospitals. There's a Mercy system, there's a Cox system, but the bottom line is when it gets to something that is sick enough or something that is sicker, you have to be in the right setting. Now, if you end up in the hospital setting for whatever reason, and there's a lot of people coming in lately with a lot of upper respiratory flu type symptoms. And again, there's certain things I can talk about on the radio and certain things I will not be able to talk about on the radio, just so that, again, the censorship and everything else to keep clear. So I'm going to, again, speak as much as I can on as many things as I can, but please also feel free to read between the lines. The hospital organization is that from the emergency room, if you're admitted to the floor, in general, there are several types of floors. There is a general hospital floors, which is, not usually complicated. The nursing ratio is, less nurses to more patients, but they're also less sick, requiring less attention. Then it goes up in terms of the step down, from the unit, which is more intensive care. And then there's the ICU itself, which is people on ventilators and things of that nature, but doesn't have to be a ventilator. Somebody who is critical or somebody who requires attention and specific, it needs a one-on-one or something as close to that as possible for patient safety, for proper care. What is happening in our healthcare system is simply this, and I'm going to be as blunt as I can. The healthcare system has failed. At this point, if you showed up to that emergency room on that, let's say on that weekend, and I had a number of cases, and this is literally breaking my heart when I see this. We get people who are sick, and we cannot get them to another higher level of care. Just a few weeks ago, this wasn't on my shift, but it was one of my colleagues. And again, there is nothing they could do in that situation. The situation was that there was a surgical patient, a person who came into our emergency room with a surgical complication of appendix, something that is easily taken out surgically, and then antibiotics or so, and then they get to go home. Well, this person sat in our emergency room as a patient, emergency room patient, for over 3 days while we tried our best. We don't have surgical service. Like I said, you're the only emergency room doctor for the whole hospital. That's all you got. And I cannot do surgery. That person died in the emergency room because we could not get him to a higher level of care, or at least to a place where they could do a surgical procedure. That, to me, is absolute insanity. But that's not an isolated incident. I was fortunate, and I literally prayed on this. This weekend, I had several people who were basically a combination of severe respiratory pneumonia, but also cardiac complications and brain complications, including several bleeds. Bleeding in the brain is an emergency. And again, there were no beds. But fortunately, and again, this is something that happened, that I was, not just for me, but primarily for the patient and the family. The beautiful thing is it worked out. We found a place for those two people to get to the surgery, and then it actually was a beautiful outcome, and they did okay. I followed up on that. That's a good outcome. In general, it is expected that we are not going to be able to move people out in the near future. Why? Let me talk about what's happening at the receiving hospitals, because what's happening now is that since you can't get people out from the small critical care hospital, the sick people end up staying, and now instead of running an emergency room, now we are running an ICU-like setting. And let me explain or give a concept of what's happening in terms of staffing and in terms of nursing, doctors, and otherwise. In order to run an ICU or very sick patients, you have to have proper staffing ratios, you have to have safety, you have to have equipment, you have to have the services available, you have to have the capacity, so to speak. For a critical care hospital like Iron County, which is doing its very best, by the way, and it's one of the best places in the world as far as I can tell, which is why I'm still there, even if the system is kind of not doing well. But the idea and the concept is, it is not safe what is happening because the emergency room and the floor, which is normally supposed to be less sick people, is overcrowded with people who are sick. And as a matter of fact, there was another situation that I can tell you about, which is it was a woman, and I won't mention any names, but after 10 days of being semi-stable and not being able to be transferred to a higher level of care, with a respiratory issue, pneumonia, and nearly on ventilator. But again, we can't take people on ventilators. So we have to do everything other than that in order to keep them in our facility. And for 10 days. Now, that's a miracle, by the way. It wasn't to be expected. But she did die because, again, there was no bed in sight and she was critically ill. Now, this kind of things are going to keep on happening. Now, let me paint a picture as to what's happening on the receiving end in a larger facility, because I've spent a number of hours, literally hours, talking to the people in the transfer centers, doctors, nurses, our colleagues all over the place. And people are doing their best. They're doing their very darnest to survive and to thrive in the system. And everybody is at their wits' end. Pretty much most of my colleagues, physicians, nursing, and otherwise, everybody is talking about how we anticipate that this is going to get worse. And it's a true statement. And why is that happening? Is it because every single bed in every single hospital is taken, and there's sick people everywhere, and it's a complete crisis with everybody crowding in the hospitals? Not exactly. Not exactly. Here's the interesting thing about the Matrix, because if you watch the news, if you watch the media, it they will actually paint a picture of a situation, for example, that is a certain illness has taken over the world, everybody's dying. Please make sure you do this and this and this and follow whatever guidelines well and mandates and all sorts of things. Again, I'm not going to go into certain things right now, but what ends up happening is, instead of fixing the underlying real issue, let's talk about the staffing. Let's talk about the nurses. In the situation and conditions where we are, and with the mandates and everything else, at least a third to half the nurses in the facilities that I'm aware of, that I've worked with, are basically gone. They're doing something else other than nursing, and there's a lot of doctors who are no longer doing doctoring because of the situation that is happening. So think about supply and demand. Supply, nurses, doctors, trained professionals, going down. Demand, the flu season, people getting sick, medical comorbidities, can't get into to see your elective surgeries, delays in even essential surgeries, as I mentioned, a surgical patient dying in the emergency room after 3 days of not being able to be transferred out. Again, no beds, no nurses. Artificially created crisis. To whose benefit is it? I don't know. I'm not going to say. It's not my area of expertise. The only thing I can talk about is human lives, and I can talk about how it makes us feel as providers, and what the situation is on the inside. And this is basically being an emergency room hospital provider. I also have a clinic, a practice, which is Shealy-Sorin Wellness Institute, where we do not take insurance. We don't take Medicaid, Medicare, so we don't have to follow the guidelines and mandates and everything else that's attached to the hook, so to speak, in the measure of control. It's all about control. Ultimately, the matrix is about control. Unfortunately, that control comes with a price. And the price is the multiple lives, health, wellness, stress, anxiety, and fear. And all of that has a basis in the fact that the system is failing. And it's failing not because of good people who are in it. The people, I shouldn't say all people, most people who are in healthcare are trying their darnest. They're trying their best to make things work. They're working overtime. People haven't slept. In other words, the nursing staff that we have, 2 nurses for the emergency room, typically 2 nurses for the inpatient, they're overworked. They work multiple shifts. They call in. I don't know, some of them I'm talking about, if they're going to last or not, just because pure exhaustion. The situation is dire, and it's got nothing to do with the human capacity or human potential. It has to do with the set of rules and regulations that are coming down from above, that are basically guiding and confusing the hospitals and healthcare organizations into this set of rules and that set of rules. And these rules change literally, I'm going to say daily. Because one day I would come in and there's a certain protocol on how to handle certain situations, and then the next day that protocol is out of the window, something else. That is very distressing. But the good news about this whole thing is, and I'll summarize this is the matrix of the healthcare system, or the sick care system. It's great if you're sick, if you're critically ill, or if you have an acute fracture, injury, heart attack, or a stroke. Now, for everything I'm saying, I will still insist, I'm still an emergency room doc, and it's still a good resource to go to the hospital if you need to be seen. The downside right now is that the places that I've worked, basically, even some of the contracts that I've had recently, the waiting times are up to 10, 12 hours, and they used to be 2 to 3 hours. That's just a fact of life, along with demand and supply, and the failure of the matrix, conventional healthcare system matrix. So I hope what we have established, where we come to, is that if you're dependent on the healthcare system for drugs, for medicines, for chronic illness, for your specialists, for surgeries, for whatever it is, you're relying on the doctors and the government and the healthcare system to take care of your health, life, and wellness and happiness, guess what? Time is up. It is now or never to get your health and life back. If you don't do it, and you're having medical problems, I'm just going to say to you this way, just like with the rest of the medical community, I'm joining the club and saying, take care of yourself. But I'm going to go beyond that, because I'm going to offer a solution to this whole thing. And the solution is actually quite simple. I'll continue talking into the second half of the period. I'm just going to outline the exact same formula that we've used for over 5 decades, and that's called holism. Holism is the perspective view of the point of the human individual as a spirit, soul, mind, body. So in that way, I'm not going to focus so much. I'll still address and pay careful attention, due diligence to the physical components, but I'm also going to introduce and come into the existence the most powerful factor in the human existence, in life, in our experience here on Earth, and that's the brain bucket, your mental, emotional, and mind. The mind is the key to success or failure. If you think you can, you're right. If you think you can't, you're right. Either way, you're right. And there's nobody who can make you do anything. The first and foremost decision is, do you or do you not have healthy lifestyle? And I will summarize it real briefly. Do you exercise? Do you move? Or do you have some kind of a vacation or job or something that you do on a regular basis that keeps you fit and using all your muscles to some degree? In other words, whatever you don't use, you're going to lose. If you don't, not good. If you do, great. Nutrition. What do you eat? Do you eat pretty much the healthy, mostly greens, some good amount of protein, however you get that, limit the carbs, limit the crap, the fast foods, the processed. If you don't, you're putting garbage into your system. It's not going to work. Your system is going to refuse to work for you after some point, or there's going to be complications. Do you sleep well? Do you recover? Are you allowing the central and autonomic nervous system to reset? If not, again, there's an issue. Weight, body mass index, 19 to 25. If it's not that, if it's over, most people are over, some people are under, you are at risk. Your health is at risk. And that's just it. It's just a risk. It's not good. It's not bad. It's not a judgment. It's not good for you. It's not conducive to a long and healthy life. Stress. If your stress is not managed well, guess what? You've got to do autogenic training and biogenics unless you know a different system. There's millions of ways to get there. What does stress do? Stress is the destructive factor behind everything, especially, 95+% of all the chronic medical and mental conditions there is. So you want to control your medical and otherwise conditions? Control stress. Autogenic training, 6 basic phrases. My arms and legs are heavy and warm. My heartbeat is calm and regular. My breathing is free and easy. My abdomen is warm, greatest chemical factor in the world. My forehead is cool. I'm in control. I'm the captain of my ship. My mind, my ever-conscious mind, is quiet and still. I am at peace. When you are truly in that place, you will have no problem with blood pressure, cholesterol, diabetes, or anything else. Those are all the risk factors for everything that's happening in this flu season, so to speak. You can actually begin to enjoy your life, make the best of it. There's a whole system of biogenics, over 68 various exercises that are fantastic and developed and designed by Dr. Shealy since the 70s as part of the self-regulation, self-training system. And that's available as well on our website, realholisticdoc.com. And on the courses, biogenicscourse.com. That's another site. But again, if you've been doing meditation for about 10 or 20 years of your life and you're in a perfectly good place, God bless you. That's fantastic. If you're not, make sure you get a peace of mind in this crazy world. Otherwise, it's really literally designed to drive everybody absolutely nuts. And what happens with the stress? Illness and illness-related disease, which is everything. You do not have the luxury of allowing uncontrolled stress. And if you're not doing anything that's effective for you, or you could do better, strongly consider the resetting your autonomic nervous system, autogenic training, biogenics, supplements. If you're not taking the basic B complex, such as essentials, 2 capsules, youth formula, which is vitamin C, molybdenum, MSM, raises DHEA, the quintessential health hormone. By the way, there is also there's a booklet on DHEA which you can obtain and learn all about this life-saving hormone, basically, on our website as well. And there's a link. But let's not get into too much detail. Supplements. Essential used to be that you didn't need that much, but now the food and nutrition is gone. We have to make sure that we have enough nutrients to make our bodies run and work. So, youth formula, which is vitamin C, molybdenum, MSM, vitamin D, D3, 50,000 units. If you're under 135 pounds, you can take 2. If you're over 135 pounds, you can take 4. You can even double that during the times of stress and if you're coming down with something. What else? Magnesium lotion. Magnesium, not by mouth, not magnesium by mouth. Why? Because magnesium is an essential element, completely deficient in our structure, society, in our matrix. And it's not measured by blood levels because it's the actual value is inside the cell. So by the time it's low in the blood, your body's been depleted. So if you've ever been in that position, you need a lot of help. Magnesium transcutaneous. And Dr. Shealy has actually created studies and designed the process by which we have shown that magnesium transcutaneous is also another factor that raises DHEA, or in other words, it gives you what your body needs for at least the very basic. So holism: spirit, soul, mind, body. If the chronic illness or a problem exists, get to the root cause. And you're not going to find that in the matrix, because the matrix is designed to keep you in chronically ill and chronically sick. That's what the matrix is for. Matrix also takes away your power, your position, your capacity, responsibility for yourself. So claim that responsibility. Take your life back. And we'll be back after this break. And stay tuned for YouTube Live and Facebook Live. We'll continue answering questions. Wonderful. Now, for the folks on the Facebook and YouTube, and for the benefit of the, just to be able to answer questions in the second half, and please do feel free to call in 417-447-1777. I want to point out a few things about the movie that caught my attention. The main character in the movie and throughout the series is named Neo. But from what I understood from the commentaries and the brilliant, messaging behind this, Neo rearranged, it also spells one. One means the one who is the savior, the one who is going to take care of you, the one who is responsible for you, and the one who is going to get you the results in your life, whether it's spiritual, mental, emotional. Neo, or the one. So let's talk about the one. Who is the one person who is going to take care of you, who is going to basically allow you to have good health, happiness, wealth, and all the good things in life? There's only one person who can do that for you, and that is you. You are the one. And that is the responsibility. Now, there's another character in there, and that character goes by the name of Morpheus, and I find a very interesting relationship between the character of Morpheus and Neo, because Morpheus's primary role is to get Neo to understand and to get to the place that he understands, trusts, and knows that he's the one, that he's got to do his thing and he's okay. He's got it. Everything that he ever needed is already within him. That is what Neo is the solution, the answer, the one. Morpheus is a guide, a coach, a support person, so to speak. So in a similar capacity, I just want to basically say, I am speaking here from a position of Morpheus. I am saying to you, and I am basically screaming out from the bottom of my heart, please, 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 take a look at your life, your reality. In the movie, there's a red pill and there's a blue pill. The blue pill is the one that basically you stay in the matrix, everything stays the same, status quo, and whatever happens, happens. The red pill is the one that awakens you. The red pill is going to make you say, what is going on in my life and who is in charge of me? What do I need to do to get my life back? If you want to take the red pill, there's only one person who can do that. There's always a choice, the red and the blue. And if you do that, if you want to take the red pill, or if you've already taken the red pill and you've taken responsibility and accountability for your health, and you want to do the holistic care and you want to be holistic, which is who you are, you want to remember who you are, step outside the matrix, break free. This is the time. The matrix is going down. All right. I think I'm done with my rant there. Do we have any questions?
We do.
Okay.
We do. We have a really long question come in on the Facebook.
Okay.
Listen to the end. The youth formula dosage vitamin C is 4 per day.
Yes.
Is the dosage less based on your weight? My second question is, Dr. Shealy mentioned that if one takes this, they need to be careful of kidney stones. He said you can curtail that problem with B6. how much B6 would I then need?
Wonderful. Great question, and I'll give you an answer. Vitamin C is fantastic. Too much vitamin C without a B complex can indeed, in very rare cases, lead to kidney stones. Plus, it depletes the B complex. So, what you really, really want to do is you want to make sure that you have a good B6, but also all the other Bs. And this is the beautiful thing about the Dr. Shealy essentials, or which is the combination of a minimum of 25 milligrams of the B complex, most of them. Now, if you take double that, 4, that will give you energy, no double, no downside, and actually, based on the weight, 2 is generally enough. For those people who are in a higher stress environment, or when I work emergency room that weekend, I take 4. Let's put it that way. And vitamin C is something that it's Simon's twins. That's why we have a package of the youth formula and the essentials, because without each other, they don't work properly. But go ahead, please.
We've got about 30 seconds, and then we're going to come back in.
All right, 30 seconds before we come back in. So please feel free to call in. The call number here is 417-447-1777. And it's all about the matrix of the healthcare field, healthcare system, and where are you?
Thousands of teens in foster care would love you just the same. Visit adoptuskids.org. Brought to you by the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Adopt U.S. Kids, and the Ad Council.
Now, back to Wellness Wednesday with Dr. Sergey Shealy-Sorin.
Wonderful. Now, do we have any questions that or comments that we want us to, from the YouTube, Facebook, anything? Otherwise, I'll just keep talking.
We do have another question on Facebook. It's a woman has asked if you can explain the difference between holistic and integrative medicine.
Boom. Perfect. Now, the word holistic, and let me actually go into this, because you actually reached a really good point. This is literally the nuts and bolts of wellness. If you heard of the term mind, body, spirit, that progression is integrative. That is integrative. I got nothing against that. Whatever you do over the conventional, God bless. But you have to realize that the spirit is the last. Mind is the first, body is the second, and spirit is kind of somewhere in the remnants, if you can get to it. If not, don't worry about it. Here's the problem. Holistic truly means is that a human being, the nature of the human, the nature of a person is and created in the God's image and likeness, by the way. So this is a heritage that we should not take lightly, by the way. We have to remember who we are. Remember, we don't have to gain anything. We just have to remember, reclaim. That's what it's all about. And spirit, soul, mind, body. How does that change everything? Integrative. Okay, so let's say integrative. I have this interesting bottle of water with a certain compound. Okay, it's outside of conventional. I can call myself integrative. Or, as Dr. Norm Shealy would say, a hospital put a room with a hot stone massage, nothing else, and they're called integrative. That is the meaning of integrative. It's a term that can be used to say beyond conventional, but it doesn't mean you go the full way. Holistic, and I love to be able to talk about this. Spirit, soul, mind, body. When I do my counseling, when I do my work in the office, in the clinic, Shealy-Sorin Wellness Institute, I focus on the person. I understand them from their childhood on up. I understand what makes them move. I understand what makes them drive, and I understand what their patterns are. Once I get that, once we're on the same page, we work with the patterns, with behaviors, with a set of circumstances that can be modified, changed, and improved in order to be closer to the original blueprint. That's what holism is about. What is the blueprint? We have a soul, we have a spirit, and we have a mental capacity. In other words, this determines everything else physical. And then there's physical. In the physical, yes, there's hot stone massage, there's all sorts of special substances, there's all sorts of supplements, there's all sorts of different things. But if you forget the spirit and the soul as the primary being, you're not holistic. That's it. That's a very simple distinction. Love that question, by the way. Thank you. Anything else? Anybody else?
Yeah, there was a question about vitamin D.
Vitamin D.
Pull it up here. It says, should one take 50,000 IU vitamin D once a week or 5,000 IU per day?
Okay, depending on the weight. This is what I would advise you. And this is the season to do this. So if you don't have that, then please make sure you do that. Vitamin D is one of the most essential immune supporters. If you are over 135 pounds, some say 135, so some say 140, but somewhere in that range, over that amount, you want to take one small little capsule weekly. And that's 50,000 units, international units. And then if you get sick or something is coming on, you can take 3 of those, or 150,000 units for 3 days in a row, and that will actually give you a nice loading dose, so to speak, and then you go back to weekly if you're over 135. If you're less than 135, your regimen is every 10 days or 3 times a month. Now, the alternative, of course, there's nothing wrong with doing the droplets or doing the 10,000 or 5,000. But if you are under 135 at this point, I'm going to say a minimum of 5,000. If you're over 135 pounds weight, then you need at least 10,000 units. But the thing about having in our office, and our clients get a benefit out of it, that bottle of small bottle of vitamin D3, which is 50,000 units, that can last you a couple of years. It's a no-brainer. Any other questions?
Yes, we have another question of what helps gastritis.
What helps gastritis? Let me actually. All right, perfect opportunity to compare and contrast the conventional and non-conventional. If I was dealing with this in a conventional capacity, I would basically just write a script for a proton pump inhibitor or some kind of another acid reducer. And I would vaguely ask you if you're smoking, if you're drinking, and all that stuff. And without even hearing your answer, because I don't have the time to hear your answer, because my time is up and I got to go see another person, I would basically send you on your way and expect you to get worse the next time around, or leave you on the acid blockers for the rest of your life, which will actually basically, destroy your absorption capacity. You will not be able to absorb proteins because you don't have the acid. You will not be able to absorb the fats because the next phase in digestion depends on the acid. And last but not least, you're screwing up the rest of your digestion anyhow. So now you can't make components of your body systems, and then you get into all sorts of decompensation and falling apart. Short of it. Okay, simple conventional pathway. It works. It's a matrix. If you like it, please enjoy it. I can't say anything else about that. When I'm in the emergency room and that's the only choice I have, I do that. That's fine. But I tell people, please don't do this for the rest of your life if you don't want to. If you choose to, go ahead. It's a free choice. The holistic path. I would actually sit down and talk to you for about an hour, at least, on this. And I would ask you about your lifestyle. What are you doing? What are you eating? When are you eating? What kind of stuff are you eating? Do you smoke? Do you drink? How is your stress level? Because the stress is what is the biggest killer of the protective factors in the stomach. How much coffee do you drink? And about a million other questions. And I would also, instead of proton pump inhibitor or acid blocker, I would put you on a digestive enzyme that would actually not just leave the acid alone where it's supposed to be, but help to digest all that stuff so you can make better use of your nutrients. That is the difference between the conventional versus holistic. And the interesting side effect of that is, and I love this, is that as you get better and the gastritis gets better, guess what? The rest of your life gets better because your habits, your perspective, your mental, your emotional, your stress management is behind all the other illnesses that people have. So you're working on the root cause. That's what it's all about. And that's why we do what we do. Any other questions?
Why don't you give the contact information for the Wellness Institute?
Okay. Yes, I've been talking about that and I haven't given the information. That's correct. The Shealy-Sorin Wellness Institute. I'm happy to see people on Skype, on telephone, especially these days. People are hesitant to come out, to go to different places, and that's okay. I understand. Telephone is perfectly fine. There is also in-person visits. It's 417-351-5221. That's the number, and we are on 2840 East Chestnut Expressway, Springfield, Missouri. But even well, actually, we've gotten people from Australia, New Zealand. I've had several people from Europe, a lot of people from Canada. Actually, I get about more consults from outside of Springfield than I do from actual area. And the interesting thing is, and this is a comment from one of our clients, patients that I saw today for the first time, is I never realized you were here. And they were looking for world-class facilities, and then there's like Dr. Shealy's Foundational Shealy-Sorin Wellness Institute. We are right here in Springfield, Missouri. So if you live in Springfield, please feel free to utilize us. That's why we exist. If you're not in Springfield, call us. That's why we exist. Well, we exist to help. Now, another thing I want to mention, actually speaking of the season, with all the flu types season and activity going on, the best thing that you can do, and we're happy to do that in our center after a brief consultation or clearance, of course, is intravenous therapy to boost the immune system. I do this every week, and if you have the capacity and if you are interested, intravenous vitamin C, one of the best antioxidants, immune boosters, and you can actually set up for a package in our office. It just makes it a more friendly in terms of the arrangements and otherwise logistics. But the bottom line is regular scheduled IVs can actually get you through the flu season in a much better capacity. Not just vitamin C, which is Myers cocktails, which is the best immune booster and energy as well, antioxidants, lots of other benefits. Ozone, intravenous ozone, one of my favorite things to do. Ozone is an O3 molecule. When the lightning strikes an oxygen molecule, it splits it up. Then that split up joins another molecule of oxygen, forming O3. That O3 molecule is like a mercenary. It literally goes out there and it just destroys whatever needs to be destroyed, whether it be viruses, bacteria, fungi, or basically letting the immune system know, hey, something is not right here, whether it's autoimmune disease, pain, toxicity, or otherwise. And then once the blood, and it doesn't involve blood coming out of your arm under very specific safe set of conditions, circumstances, and then we put it in a bag and then just put ozone. It passes through the ultraviolet, and then on the way back it comes back into your body. It looks different in terms of the color. That's one of my favorite things. I do this weekly. And then when it comes back, then the heart circulates the entire thing in about 2 minutes or less. And whatever challenges, whatever antigens, whatever offending agents were found in that in that section of blood that was treated, then becomes the benefit to the entire system. It's one of the strongest ways to boost the immune system and to deal with infectious disease. Now, I'm not saying that this is the only way, but if you're interested, the clinic is offering this for those who want to stay healthy and safe and good during the flu and flu-like season. So if you want to do that, please give us a call, 417-351-5221. Our staff gets it every week. We haven't gotten sick. And we see a lot of people. And we, of course, take precautions and make sure that everything is okay and proper. But thank you for allowing me to mention that, because if you're not doing that on top of the basic wellness, this is the season to watch out. Anything else?
We do have a caller.
Okay, caller. Yes, please.
Go ahead.
Hi.
Hey, how you doing? I was wondering, you were making a mention earlier in the show about how you're like a coach. Can you talk more about the coaching aspect of the information that you guys put out?
Absolutely. And thank you. That really makes me think of something very, very important and valuable. Coaching. Why is that important? What's the difference between the conventional and holistic? And here's a very important distinction. Holistic puts the power in the hands of you. In other words, it's gonna get you to take action, responsibility, and the outcomes. You change the patterns of yourself, life. It takes 2 to 3 months. Speaking of coaching, 2 to 3 months to develop a habit. Then it takes another 6 to 12 months altogether, 6 to 12 months, to actually create a lifestyle. Once a lifestyle is created, you are a whole new being. You don't have to work at it. You don't have to do. Now you are it. And whatever you do comes naturally of who you are. So that's the beautiful thing, and that's what holism, and that's what we do here. By the way, I do want to mention we do have a holistic coaching coming out, a program. Now, we'll announce it when it's ready, but we'll dedicate the entire show to it at some point, because it's important, because people do need guidance, and whoever wants to do better, not just from illness to health, but from health to greatness. Does that address some of the questions or thoughts?
Yes, makes total sense. It's like having a coach for sports, right?
Exactly. It's for example, I mean, I do martial arts. I just came from a session today. If I do, the purpose of a coach is to first of all to see am I on the right track. He also corrected me on a number of mistakes or things that I wasn't doing right before I committed to memory, so that I can do it. I can do it better. And it's guidance, it's counseling, and it's also reassurance. It's hey, I'm with you. That's what we do. We make sure that you become successful, and we do so by walking with you the whole time, the entire path. We don't stop along the way. In the conventional system, here's a script, go figure out for yourself. That's what that's all about. We share the responsibility with you, but you're the one who accomplishes the results. That's the concept of coaching. And yes, I'm going to say this actually. When I was starting medicine, I hope you don't mind this rant here, but when I was starting medicine, I wanted to be a medical doctor because it was the coolest thing to do. I had a complex about it. If a person didn't call me a doctor when I was a resident, my ego would basically get all the way up, and the feathers would get ruffled. I wouldn't be able to talk to myself in the same capacity as I am right now. In other words, I've learned a few things. At this point, I am almost ashamed of being a doctor in this healthcare system. Not that I'm ashamed of what I'm doing, not that I'm ashamed of what I've done or what I'm about to do, what we're about to do with this wellness and holism, but the whole concept of a doctor has gone to hell and back. The whole concept of medicine and a doctor has turned from a friend, a healer, somebody who is with you, somebody who cares about you, somebody who is a coach, somebody who is a guide, somebody who can give you the map and then guide you, and then so that you can walk the territory safely and effectively and get to where you need to be. Medicine lost it. And interesting thing is medicine has lost it a long time ago. It's just the only thing is we're seeing it now. The matrix is showing its glitches. So as a matter of fact, I'm going to say thank you. I'm going to say thank you for the past 2 years, because the whole matrix of our society, the entire matrix of our government, and I'm not going to go into more detail, the entire matrix of the healthcare system, because of what we're talking about here, that entire matrix is showing itself to be false, and it's failed. We see it on the inside. You're going to see it soon enough if you haven't already. It's time to take action now. But thank you for that wonderful, amazing question.
Thanks, Doctor.
Yep. Anything else on your mind, by the way, or? Yep.
We do have another question on the internet, going back to what you were talking about earlier about the digestive system and the gastritis. Is there a certain digestive enzyme that you would recommend?
I would, especially if there's a stomach problem, and you can call our office, and it's 417-351-5221, or you can come in. We can actually send that to you. It's called STM. It's a short for stomach, and I use that instead of the proton pump inhibitors. But there's a lot more factors that go with that. Two capsules as you start the meal. I've been doing it personally for a long time. Mm-hmm. Wonderful. Lots of questions today. Yes. This is wonderful. Great.
We have another question on the internet.
Yeah.
A woman said that she's recently had knee replacement surgery. How much time should I spend in front of the sapphire scaler? Do I have to sit directly in front of it? Does it have to be unblocked exposure?
Doesn't have to be unblocked exposure, but the best way, we're talking about a scaler. Scaler is a unit that was developed by Dr. Shealy and myself, and it's based on the concept of scalar energy. Nikola Tesla worked with that. It is also, there's more energy in a single helium atom, if you utilize it properly, that can literally boil all the world's oceans, as a matter of fact, if one knew how to utilize that energy. And there's more energy in empty space. That's quantum and otherwise concepts. But the scalar device has been shown clinically with the same understanding and the same concept to reduce free radicals, which is absolutely wonderful after surgery because there's a lot of inflammation going on there. 24/7, I would say, if you're sitting, you can take the device anywhere with you. And I would basically keep it pointed towards you. Now, the way we did research is we had the devices in 4 corners of the room, very large room. We also demonstrated that it works if you just have it in one of the corners, wedging, towards you, and keep it pointed towards you. Now, does it work beyond that? Possibly, but we haven't done the research to show that. So that's that. Use it as much as possible, but there's another device that I would recommend for faster healing, and that's called PEMF, Pulsed Electromagnetic Field device, and that's what I used together with some other things when I had my own back, lumbar third burst fracture when I did something stupid with the vehicle and I crashed, and I paid the lesson. But the bottom line is I was back working in the emergency room 3 weeks after surgery, and I have basically a metal I have a what's the word? Spine of steel or something? Whatever the expression is, backbone of steel. Yeah. But I was able to go back to the emergency room and work a 24-hour shift. Barely so. I mean, it was a mistake to go back that early, but I was able to pull it off, and I did so because I had the PEMF on me pretty much most of the time. That's another good one. And by the way, that's available on our website if you like, Shealy-Sorin PEMF. If you want to do that, or if you want to call in for a consult, that's another way, because I can see we can recommend that or something else, and then you can even rent it for a month and see what happens. Usually a month after surgery allows for quick healing, and then any other benefit beyond that is great, is plus. Did I anything else?
We have another question on the internet.
Great.
Do you recommend NAD supplements for telomere enhancement?
Telomere enhancement. Oof, now that's a beautiful question. I love it. Telomeres. Why is it important? Telomeres. Telomeres are the tail end of DNA. It's a tail that disappears by 1% under the best circumstances every single year. And so when we reach 100 years old or so, and let's say you're doing all the great things, lifestyle, supplements, stress management, you're living in a perfectly wonderful environment. So you get to 100 years, well, guess what? Telomeres run out. It's time to, move on to the next realm, so to speak. What happens with telomeres is that they can get shortened or they can grow. Things that shorten telomeres: stress, pain, chronic illness, mental and emotional. It's all very powerful. There's about 1 million ways that you can negatively affect your telomeres. How do you positively affect your telomeres? Happiness, laughter. One of the easy ways. That's it. Doesn't cost you a single thing. Research as well. If you want to invest in your health as well, this is a wonderful remedy. The combination of bliss oils, essential oils applied on acupuncture points, very easy. There's a card that tells you exactly where to put it, and of course we can help further with that. But 3 essential oils combinations: the Earth Bliss, which also helps the bone strength, and great for the pain relief for the bone. Fire Bliss, which is the entire endocrine system balancing, and also DHEA. DHEA is the anti-stress wellness hormone, essential. And last but not least, Crystal Bliss, which is the free radical reduction, but also, also it's for the heart, purity of the heart. Basically, you can think of it mentally, emotionally, physically, multifaceted beings. But in terms of regrowing the telomeres by 3.5% instead of losing 1%. So that's why Dr. Shealy is saying theoretically, a person can live to 150 years and beyond. You do all the right things, all the great, all the essentials. Stay away from things that are not good, and embrace holism, and enjoy your life. About 2 minutes to go. Questions or? So, I'm glad I have it to talk about something very important from our friends at Spring Valley, the best health food store in town here. Wonderful, great service. Carry a lot of our products, essentials, youth formula, magnesium lotion, bliss oils that we just talked about. I won't say magnesium again because it's so important. Vitamin D3. It's just a great place, and service is absolutely magnificent, especially now that it's confusing to get which supplements are appropriate, which are not. Services is a big part of it. Another thing I want to mention is a Nature Blessed Tart Cherry Juice Concentrate, which is among my favorites as well, and great for many metabolic processes: diabetes, hypertension, lots of things. Plus, it tastes and it. If you're not eating your veggies, 2 tablespoons will do the job. Although I still advise to please eat your veggies because there's a billion of other benefits to veggies. And you can add the Nature Blessed Tart Cherry Juice concentrate. So Summary. Matrix of the conventional healthcare system is falling apart. It's a falsedom. It's the created reality to make you feel you're safe. You're not. The system is about to go boom. Now, if you're willing to take care of yourself, if you want to be okay, if you want to be independent of the healthcare system and come out of the matrix, take the red pill, responsibility, take accountability, become whole in our movement. I welcome you and well ahead. Many, many, many blessings. Take care. Actually, I'm going to use the overtime for just about a minute to introduce something that I didn't get to say during the radio show. I just so many great things. There's going to be a winner of the next for the next week. We're going to announce, and I'll text you live. I'm going to pick someone who is watching Facebook Live, YouTube Live. You're going to get free access to any one course. I suggest starting with biogenics, but there's many courses that are available. So look at your phone 5 minutes in. We're going to see who is going to be the lucky winner. But last but not least, everybody can be a winner in life. If you choose responsibility, accountability, holism, and you take back your life, your power, and take back you. Blessings.